All right, this is a video to go along with the first page that you see in your transformations notes. And on this first page, we're going to go through reflections of our polygons on a coordinate plane. In our notes packet, we will review reflections, translations, and dilations. And today, for this video right now, we're getting ready to review just the reflections. So a reflection, this is pretty obvious. It's kind of like a mirror image. It's a flip of a figure across a line of reflection. Each point on the reflected figure is the same distance from the line of reflection as the corresponding point from the original figure. What that means in this real life example of Big Ben is that the top of Big Ben, the distance that it is up here, is the same distance from the line of reflection down below. Now on the coordinate plane, what I have here is I have two triangles to serve as an example to kind of show you how this all works. And the vocabulary that I would say that matters the most is that you see right here, this triangle ABC is called the pre-image, and that it's currently located in quadrant 1. And it's going to be flipped over the x-axis. And then triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is called the image located in quadrant 4. So a pre-image, you just use the letters A, B, and C. And for the image, it's A prime, B prime, and C prime. And what I'm saying is the word prime. Has nothing to do with prime numbers. It's just how you indicate that this is the shape after a change has occurred. So that's what we're doing in this note packet, y'all. We're making changes by either reflecting it, sliding it, or using a scale factor to enlarge or reduce it. So we'll go over these two in a minute. But for right now with reflections, let's just look at the two types of reflections that you're going to perform. So first, what I have on your notes, it's obviously all blank. Go ahead and spend some time right now graphing the triangle FUN. F is located over 5 down 2, and plot your point and label it F. U is located over 4 down 4, and plot U. And point N is located over 2 down 1, and there's point N. So down here we have what we call the pre-image, and those are the pre-image coordinates, okay? What we're now going to do is reflect that triangle over the x-axis. The x-axis is this green horizontal axis that I have right here. So what you do is you basically just go point by point. And so starting with point F, if we plotted the pre-image over 5 down 2, now all you've got to do is go over 5 up 2 and label this point F prime. Then for point U, instead of going over 4 down 4, you go over 4 up 4, and that's U prime. And then for N, instead of going over 2 and then down 1, we go over 2 and then up 1, and that is point N prime. And then you can just list those points right here. And now we have the image coordinates listed. If you need to pause the video at any point to plot any of those things, feel free to do so. One thing I'd like to point out to you guys real quick is a little shortcut. Look carefully over here at the image and the pre-image coordinates. You might notice something when we reflect over the x-axis. When we reflect over the x-axis, it was the y's that went from down here being negative up to being positive. So when reflecting something over the x-axis, you can just change the y coordinates. And that's just a little shortcut to help you remember that when reflecting something over the x-axis, you can just flip the y coordinates and you're good to go. Now let's take a look over here. We have the same pre-image in red. It's the same pre-image, and so go ahead and just replot. Point F is over 5 down 2. There's point F. Point U is over 4 down 4. And point N was over 2 down 1. There's point N. This time, instead of reflecting it over the x-axis, we're going to reflect it over this y-axis right here. Okay? So now we're just going to go point by point. And for the first point, F, instead of going over 5 down 2, we're going to go back 5 and then down 2, and that's F prime. For U, instead of having gone over 4, down 4, we're now from the origin going to go back 4, down 4. Whoops, back 4, down 4. And that's U prime. And N was over 2, down 1, so we're going to move back 2, down 1. And that's N prime. Now our image has been correctly reflected over the y-axis. And down here, another shortcut I'd like to point out is that when reflecting over the y-axis, it was the x-coordinate that went from positive to negative. So when reflecting something over the y-axis, you can simply change the x-coordinates. So let's say I give you the point N and say N is currently located at 2, negative 1, and you see it right there. I might ask, what is N prime after it's reflected over the y-axis? And then you would just say it's negative 2, negative 1. I forgot to put the negatives here. Sorry about that. Okay, so notice that the y's here all stayed the same, but the x's we flip-flopped. All right? And the last thing I'd like to point out is that reflections are congruent figures. The pre-image and the image are the exact same shape and size as each other. And that concludes the video on reflections.